Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to take our book class that we have here. I've stripped the other code out of it. You'll see it's still codable. And we're going to now add the code that allows us to save data that will persist. So if you remember, we need to have a documents directory, which is a file manager. We archive URL it. So let's go about doing that. The first thing we need is let document, we'll call it document directory. And our document directory is going to be a file manager. And our file manager, and we want to do a .default .urls. So we've done that, and now we've got this for file manager and stuff like that. So what I want to do is it's going to be, in this case, for, and I'm going to say document directory. So I've done that, and now the next one for in is we want to have it in the user domains. So we just start typing, and we have user domain in mask, and then we come outside there and it's first and our exclamation mark. So we've got that set up. Now the next thing we need is our archive URL. So I'm going to say let archive URL be equal to our document directory dot appending path component. So we're appending path component, and we want to, in this case, have it, it's got to be a string, and we're going to say book underscore library dot plist. So we have that there. Now let's remove that extra space that I created. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to have our property list encoder. So let property list encoder. So we have our property list encoder, which is going to be you guessed it, a property list encoder. So we have it there. We've created ourselves a nice new object. And the next thing we're going to do is we need to encode a book. So we're going to say let encoded book be equal to try ? So again, this should be looking a little bit familiar to you, but we're just changing the code obviously a little bit. We've got property list encoder dot encode, and what are we encoding? We're encoding book. So we've got that. All right. Now the next thing we need to do is we need to try to encode the book and write it to the archive URL that we've created. So we're going to just start in this case with try. So let's try encoded book. So encoded book, our ? We're going to write, and we want to write to our archive URL, and then we need some options, and our options in this case are no file protection. So we've got that done. So we've now attempted to write our book, to encode it to our archive URL, to our documents directory. And the next thing we want to do is now decode it. So we're going to say let property list decoder be equal to a property list decoder. So we've done that, that's set up, and now we're going to attempt to get that to retrieve our book data. So I'm going to say if let, and I'm going to create a new variable here, and I'm calling it retrieved book data is equal to try, and we're going to try, and in this case it's data, and our data will be the contents of, and in this case the contents of, which is the URL, which is our archive URL, and then we say let the decoded book, so our decoded book that we're creating, equal try ? And then we want our property list decoder object, so property list decoder that we've created, dot, and we're going to decode, and we want to decode our type and our from, and our type in this case is going to be book dot self, and then we're decoding it from our retrieved book data. So we've retrieved it from there, and then we have our open curly brackets again, and we now go print, and what are we going to print? We're going to print our decoded book. And there we should find that it is going to give us a encoding and decoding of our book. Let's run that and see how it goes. So let's come down and click our play button, our run button, and there you see we have encoded and decoded our book. We've written it to a plist and we've retrieved it. If you're looking at going, well, there's two printouts, David, that's right, because up here we say print book, and that's what we've done, and then down here we print our decoded book, and that's what it's done. So what have we covered here? We've gone about encoding data into our app so that we've used it actually in a playground, but we would just transfer this exact code across into our app and use it, and we've archived the code. We've archived our data into our document directory, and then from there we've been able to retrieve it again. So even if we quit our app, that data would be saved. So that's how we go about encoding data so that it's in our document directory and it's there persisting.